Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Alright, folks, our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ending My Daughter's Therapy Appointments? Hello there. I'm a mother of a 15-year-old daughter, and I noticed that my daughter cries a lot but won't tell me why. She promised me that nothing bad has happened to her, she just feels overwhelmed. I think it's because she doesn't spend enough time with her friends. My husband told me to put her in therapy. We also put my son, 10 years old, into therapy as well. My son's therapist told me that he's doing well and has learned all the skills that he needs, so we've ended his appointments. My daughter's therapist told me that she wants to diagnose her with an anxiety disorder. I don't think that my daughter has an anxiety disorder. She's been a happy child for most of her life, and she herself says that nothing's bad's happening to her. She just feels overwhelmed. I think that she's gotten more anxious since she started seeing a therapist. She's gotten more withdrawn and spends more time on the computer. I decided that we weren't seeing the improvements that we needed to, so last week I told my daughter that we would be ending her therapy appointments with that therapist and switching to a new one. My daughter started crying and told me that she really liked and trusted that therapist. However, neither my husband nor I have seen the improvements that we wanted to in the last 5 months that she's been in therapy. I said that I would consider sending her to a different doctor, but my daughter says that she doesn't want to start all over. She says that I'm cruel and the reason why she has an anxiety disorder. Like I said before, I don't think that she has an anxiety disorder, but I don't want to be cruel to her. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yes, you're the jerk. Now, it's fine to be concerned if you're not seeing what you think are improvements in
Yeah,
therapy,
I mean, I think that's important. Like, if you think that it's not helping her, then that's important to consider.
but it's also important to understand that what you see is not necessarily the extent of the issue.
Yeah.
So, things can look one way from the outside. Your daughter may have looked very happy for many, many years and been keeping a lot inside, and it built to a point where she couldn't suppress it anymore.
Yeah, well, and I think that's actually a really good point to keep in mind here is that just because your daughter is happy on the outside, it might just be that she didn't really want to burden other people with the anxiety or sadness on her inside, and that what you're seeing now is her actually being more free with her feelings.
And your daughter and her therapist are both better judges of whether she has an anxiety disorder than you are. And the therapist may even need a diagnosis to do some types of treatment. Like, I think medications a lot of times can't be dispensed unless you have a formal diagnosis.
Yeah.
And there may be other treatment techniques that she hasn't been able to use yet because she hasn't been given her a diagnosis.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important to keep in mind. And I mean, I understand OP being scared and frightened because this is probably a scary time, and I can understand it's very stressful. But the way you're approaching this makes it seem like you're stigmatizing your daughter's mental health, that you don't really want to believe that she has these issues, and
And
you're not willing to accept her or her diagnosis.
and you don't want to believe that you've done anything wrong. And
Hmm.
like, you can still be a good parent and project your anxieties onto your children. You have to be open to the idea that there may be things you've done that have contributed to her anxious state.
Yeah, so in the end, I mean, I think that OP is a well-meaning parent. I think that they're approaching this in a pretty bad way. I think that's fine to want to get a second opinion if you talk to your daughter and she's willing to do that. But I think pulling her out of therapy just because you aren't seeing the improvements that you want to in the time frame that you want isn't necessarily a good way to approach this. And I also would recommend going to family therapy because it seems like there's a lot more going on here than what meets the eye. I think that if you're causing your daughter a lot of anxiety, then there might be some issues, deeper issues in your family structure.
Yeah, and one last thing is that it is important to note that if you were to pull her out of this therapist, that would likely reset her because the new
Hmm.
therapist would have to take the time to get to know her. So
Yeah.
if your daughter feels like she's making progress, that's kind of the important benchmark. And if she feels like she'd be set back, that's also important to keep in mind.
Yeah. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Changing My Usual Christmas Plans Just Because I've Had a Baby This Year? I'm in the UK, and I get that I'm petty, I just don't think that I'm the jerk. This all started about 8 years ago. I'm a 32-year-old female. My sister, a 34-year-old female, got married in early 2014 and in November 2014 had the first grandchild, an 8-year-old male. Now they have 3 kids between 8 and 3. My sister and her husband had a newborn and didn't want to travel for Christmas, so they invited our parents, a 66-year-old male and female, and her husband's parents, 60-ish male and female, to their house for Christmas Day. I wasn't invited as they wanted to keep it small and for immediate family only. My sister's husband is an only child, so he had no siblings to exclude. My sister and I have a younger brother, a 28-year-old male, but he lives in another country. He lives in a country that he went to university in, and due to work commitments, he can't get back to the UK for Christmas, so we generally see him in the new year. I was the only sibling in the UK that was excluded. At the time, I was single, so it was very lonely. That year, I exchanged presents on another day after Christmas with my parents. The trouble is that this has become a tradition for them. They celebrate Christmas as a group, and I see my parents, sister, and nieces and nephews between Christmas and the New Year. Now, this leads up to the New Year. I'm engaged, and in July, I had my baby girl. I, for the last 4 years, have spent Christmas Day with my fiance and his family. He has a big family. He's the youngest of 5, and they all have parents and children. So we go to his parents' house. I have no intention of changing my Christmas plans of going to my fiance's family. My sister texted me yesterday and say that they are up at 8 and open presents at 10 after breakfast. So I would need to arrive before then. And this is where I'm petty. My response is, "Oh, I'm invited this year." And my sister says, "Obviously." My response, "So is having a baby this time what got me an invite? Or is this just for me? Our fiance and baby girl invited too?" I used their real names in the actual text. And my sister gave me radio silence. This morning, I get a phone call from my mom. She had obviously been crying. She didn't actually cry on the phone with me. She again thought that it was obvious that I would be going to my sister's Christmas. I calmly pointed out that I've never been invited to Christmas before, even when I asked to come. Mom wants me to split the day so both sides can see the baby girl on her first Christmas, as Christmas is about the grandchildren. I said, "No, I'm not spending Christmas Day in the car. My parents and sister can see the baby girl between Christmas and the New Year as normal." The conversation fizzled out and ended. Am I the jerk for not changing my Christmas plans so both sides can see the baby girl on her first Christmas? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. Your parents family are only valuing you now that you have a child, and that's kind of a really bad way to treat someone you're supposed to care about.
Yeah, I really feel that their true colors kind of have shown up here. They didn't want to invite you to this Christmas because you didn't have children, and now suddenly you have children, and oh, why aren't you coming to Christmas with us? And that's really messed up in a lot of ways. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that OP is the jerk here. I think that their parents were very cruel to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your worth as a person doesn't hinge on having children. And like you pointed out, when you're single and you don't have any family to your family basically just excluded you. And now you have a nuclear family of your own. You have more people you could spend Christmas with. And that's when they're like, "Oh, we don't care that you were alone and sad before.
Yeah.
It was fine to just ignore you. But now that you have the grandbaby, we want the grandbaby."
Yeah. So it really comes across as not genuine. Their invite seems to be solely because you have a child. So I can't blame you, OP, for not wanting to spend Christmas with them. It seems like a pretty bad situation. So,
Yeah. And keep spending the holidays with the people who care.
yeah. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. I actually have coffee this morning, and Amber has a joke.
Why did the famous musician, or how did the famous musician break his leg?
The famous musician broke his leg because he was trying to write a new song in 3/4 scale, and then what ended up happening is it was a pretty big disaster. There was windows involved, and it was mostly him falling out of a window into the fire escape, and it was a pretty big mess. He caught his leg on some stuff. Not no good. Music is a violent endeavor.
He fell over a clef.
And I, like I said, have coffee. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you're all having a great Monday and a nice holiday week so far. I don't know if you have time off or not, but if you do, I hope you're spending it with loved ones, and I will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.